All right, so we got the mic on. So right now, what we have is going on is we have a 2-bedroom property, just so everyone's following along, a condo in Overland Park. What we then had was we found our rent through the payment standards, through the Johnson County Housing Authority payment standards. This allows us to click on this PDF that tells us by zip code, by bedroom count, what our maximum rent is. When we get our maximum rent, we have $1,850 versus $2,400 for a 3-bedroom and a 2-bedroom. We're going to compare that against the market rent that we found right here on affordablehousing.com on the owner section. And that allows us to figure out, hey, which is the lower of the two. So as a 2-bedroom right now, I'm taking $1,850 because that's my lowest number right here. And I'm going to have $1,850. Taxes and insurance right here. For my war chest right here in B32, I'm going to turn that into 5%. And again, if you want to copy the spreadsheet, just go to affordablehousing.io, click on the Get Deal Analysis tool. It's the fastest for you to copy the spreadsheet. All right, I got 5% right here. My HOA, this is a heavy one, right? The reason why is 456. The reason I lowered my war chest or my maintenance every single month to 5% simply because I know that I'm putting aside a lot of money every single month into the HOA, which essentially tells me that this is the money that's going to be set aside for any repairs, especially on a roof or any of those big items. So that's why I have this here. For my property management expenses, I'm putting in 10%. For my vacancy, I got 5%, just assuming someone's going to move out. All right, so now that I got all these numbers in here, right? The rehab calculator, I went through the photos and I thought it was relatively turnkey. So all the rehab I really had was just replacing the toilets at $450 each. 300 square feet of painting, just assuming I had to do some touch of paint, and maybe I had to replace some of the carpet if they're old and dingy, with about 500 square feet of LVP. That gives me my total rehab with a 20% contingency, which means I'm adding a 20% premium extra just in case of oh crap moments. That's why I have that here. So for my down payment in F19, I'm going to do equals my asking price times my down payment percentage of F19. So for this property, I would be putting down $50,000. There's no commissions here. I got 2.5% for my closing costs, which is about $5,000. Great. So now on my financing amount, it's going to equals to B4, which is my asking price, minus my cash down payment to the seller. That's $149,962. So I'll do 7% for my interest rate. Great. Let's assume this starts in 11, 10, 31, 5. Great. Now I got this in place. So I rent this property out as 2-bedroom for $1,850. I'll be negative cash flow minus 311. Cash on cash return here is going to be negative 6%. Assuming I bought this property for $199,950 with a $7,000 rehab, 25% down, 7% interest rate. So here's the thing. Here's the next step that you want to check out. Now, what do I need to buy this property for? Let's just say my cash on cash target is 8%. Well, in that scenario, what do I need to lower my price by in B4 to get a cash on cash return number of 8%? Let's say I go to 120 grand. Let's say I go to 100 grand. 95. Boom, that's 6%. So I would have to buy this property for $95,000. Is that realistic? Probably not. The reason why you got to buy so low is probably because of how many expenses that you have from the HOA fees. That's the problem. Now, here's the interesting part, right? This is why I love going through different scenarios. Well, what if I turn this into a 3-bedroom and now all of a sudden my rent goes up to $2,000, right? Because that's all I saw on the market rent, to $2,000. Now some of my return went up. Now you turn this into $2,000. Let's say you got to convert it legally, get permits. Let's add 10 grand to the rehab, so it's realistic. What are you willing to pay for the property? Now you might be willing to pay 103. There you go. So instead of 95, you might be willing to pay 103 if you got this to turn into a 3-bedroom and got to rent it out for $2,000 rent, and now you're cash flowing $292 a month, and that's roughly around 7.7% return. I still rounds up to 8. Now you have a $17,000 rehab, 25% down, 7% interest rate. That's how you go through the process to figure out what is a deal, quote unquote, for you. I'll do one more exercise. Let's say your interest rate dropped down by a full point, right? There's all this talk about interest rates and stuff like that. So just understand that your interest rates are affected by two factors. One is the 10-year yield interest rate, the 10-year treasury yield, and the spread between the 10-year yield and the 30-year mortgage interest rate. Now, historically, that spread is about 1.5 to 2%. Today, you can kind of see that spread being roughly around 2.2-ish, call that. So it's almost within historical range. So that's why you see such big moves happen in interest rate, because that spread has narrowed over time. It was as high as 3% when we saw interest rates in the 8s just a while ago. And before that, in the 1980s, I mean, we saw spreads as high as like almost 6%. That's why you saw interest rates in like the teens, high teens. But these are the different things that you want us to pay attention to, right? And just remember, the bond market moves a lot faster. So don't pay attention to what the Federal Reserve says about cutting rates. You want to pay attention to what is happening in the bond market, because the bond traders move a lot faster. So today, when they became a little bit more hawkish, right, about rate cuts, guess what? Earlier this week, it went as low as 3.9. And once it bumped back up, it went straight back up to 4.1. That's how quickly interest rates move. It moves really quick, and the spread can move quick. So that's why you really can get a half point or a full point move, sometimes even overnight, which is crazy. But when your interest rate in K7 lowers, guess what? Your interest cash and cash return goes up. So now all of a sudden, instead of 103, you might be willing to pay 110. Boom, 110. So 1 point move in your interest rate increased your buying power to achieve the same target return of roughly 8%, assuming you're still a 3-bedroom, $2,000, but now you're cash on $312 a month, $17,000 rehab because you're still converting the extra bedroom into a legal bedroom, but now your interest rate is now 6%. That's how you shift your levers and keep emotions out of the deal to figure out what is a deal, quote unquote, for you. These are all the steps I want you to figure out and understand, because a deal for you might not be a deal for somebody else, right? Somebody might not care about $300 of cash flow if they're trying to buy in, let's say, California, and figure out, hey, if I do this, what might happen? And take emotions out of the deal and say, hey, can I make this work? And this is how we go about that process. All right. I hope you all have an amazing Friday. Happy Halloween, everybody. Had a lot of fun today hanging out with my family, so I hope you did too. And thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Thanks for practicing the skill of analyzing deals with me, because this is the skill that you have to learn to figure out whether or not something is a deal for you. And my hope is this: I hope you copy my homework. I hope you analyze the same deal I analyzed today using the same spreadsheet. Let's go to youtube.com. And you guys can copy them. Just copy my homework, right? Someone's going to ask you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? And you say, I didn't know this is a deal because I've been looking at deals for the past 763 days in a row, right? Might that give you some confidence? You know what to do? Then you know what you're doing? I certainly hope so. All right. I hope you all have an amazing Friday. I'll see you all tomorrow for day 764. Have a good one, everybody.